Hello, once again. I'm Mark Small. This is Civil Discourse Now on November 19th, 2024. We're on the planet Earth, spinning through space, hurtling through time, I guess. This evening is Cassie Jackson. Cassie, what's happening?
What's really?
Huh? Is that like, are you there? Are you frozen? I think you're frozen. She's frozen on the screen. Oh my God. The temperatures dropped there. We're having climate change. I can't tell. Are you losing communications here? Cassie, are you there? Huh. I thought she's doing a real good job of just being frozen on screen. That's tough. I had to do that one time in a play in 1983, and that was in Bloomington. It was okay. So I had to hold a pose for 7.5 minutes one time in a play. It was a comedy down in Bloomington. Bloomington Playwrights Project put it on. It's called The Retirement Home of Horror. And apparently it was shown on Halloween for years, video of it. I'd love to see it, but it's like I had to stand perfectly still because I was Igor, manservant of terror. And and Dracula hits me with a stun thing and I freeze. Think about it. You're standing there and you can't look like you're kind of standing there. So I forget whatever.
I'd be a huge failure at that. Whoever cast me would be like, wrong choice. Nope.
Well, I mean, I just was kind of lean. There was a prop on stage, and I was able to use that. And it was a period of time in which I was not exactly real happy about things, but things went okay. And it was a good play. I mean, I liked working with those folks. We're here it's episode 18 of Civil Discourse Now. We're going to discuss Micah Beckwith, who's the Lieutenant Governor-elect of Indiana, and his problems with ED, and that's educational dysfunction. Now, he's going to go into Westfield High School this week. It's day after tomorrow, and apparently talk about the Constitution at some point. He doesn't know anything about the Constitution. He said, don't read academics about the Constitution because they've got a secular bias. Just read him. Okay, dumbass. I'm talking to you, Beckwith. Dumbass.
You're a dumbass. Can we also say that he's under credentials? He's under credentials by another pastor who's actually like gone through pastor or whatever training, Nathan Paternal. So he's not even a pastor. Not only does he not know the Constitution, but technically he's not a pastor. In terms of the Assemblies of God, which is his overriding body, which he practices under in the evangelical church in the United States.
Okay. Well, here's the thing. When he said that about the people having a secular bias, he doesn't account for his own bias. And also, when he starts talking about the Constitution, he shows he's an idiot. This is why. He has no concept of what the framers wrote, and he won't subject himself to a debate that he challenged me on originally in 2020. That being said, he's trying to put this into schools, some kind of crap where he says, I'm going to go into the schools and make sure they teach history the way it should be. Here's a problem. Here's the problem. And he's, like about a month ago, he was on a podcast and he told the host of that podcast, well, you know, I'm a student of history. And it wasn't a comedy podcast. Okay. I'm a student.
Sure. Can I just review really quickly where Micah Beckwith, let me just review for our guests. Micah Beckwith was born and raised in Hillsdale, Michigan. Hillsdale, Michigan is the home of the Heritage Foundation. The Heritage Foundation are the authors of Project 2025. The Heritage Foundation is also the largest contributor to Moms for Liberty, which is a domestic terrorist organization within the United States, as recognized by the Southern Poverty Law Institute. It's my belief as a mental health provider and someone who's done some research into Beckwith, that he has been indoctrinated since birth. And that's a very big word and whatever, and we can play with that. And I'm not asking Mark for you or with your professional or just like experience to speak to that. I'm saying that I have great concern for the fundamental things that Beckwith learned as a child and how he has also, based on his mother, who we have in writing, endorsing Civil War, how he's grown up. How has he grown up? What's coming into play from that?
And when I'm looking though at it as an educational thing, and look, that's legit criticism on that level. When he was talking though about, and just hear me out on this, he said we didn't drop the atomic bomb on D-Day on the Germans, because that was the right thing to do. It was the right thing. We hadn't developed the atomic bomb yet. We didn't test the atomic bomb, have a successful test until over a year later, which was a month after the Germans surrendered. But he said it's good that we didn't, because that would have gotten the Germans to like really solidify and everything and fight us back and stuff.
So let me clarify, Mark. So what he's saying, let me clarify what he's saying, that he was he's confused as to when Jesus and God who speak to him put into the brains of scientists who are, you know, able to create these kind of bombs and understand chemistry and physics. You're saying that that Beckwith thought that perhaps they had this in their brain and knew this all along and could have come up with it earlier?
No, I think he didn't understand history and
No,
when bombs developed. It's like World War II had bomb could have used. What that says, though, when he described how the Germans could have really pulled together and fought back, ignores Germans and the Japanese. Let me explain. It puts the Germans in a stance where they would have felt threatened and they needed to like overthrow Hitler or something. And they wanted to. They couldn't. They were ordered to fight. And a lot of them fought because they believed. Okay, fine. What about the Japanese? Oh, I guess we had to drop it on them because, let's see, they're not white. And that's a problem. And I'm saying it's a problem with our history and our attitude towards Asian people, because the Japanese at the end of World War I, they've been our allies in World War I. Mm-hmm. They had a democratic movement going in Japan. So they were trying to become more progressive and everything. The United States President, Woodrow Wilson, one of the most racist people to ever occupy the Oval Office, refused to allow them in the peace negotiations because they weren't white. What happens then is the really very reactionary, militaristic people in Japan, really took over, and then that's how we got World War II. So not only is he wrong about history, he ignores history, and then it basically has racial undertones. But that is as it is for Beckwith, because
I love that you know all of this too, because that was really interesting to me just to hear like all of the, I'm just like, I'm appalled by the current rhetoric, but when you really bring it back and because you're a historian, whether you're academically trained or not, you have a lot more knowledge on the Constitution and also history in general than Beckwith. I think it's important to point to those facts when you see him just spouting off about stuff that's not even occurred yet, or not even having a real understanding, despite the fact that he touts this like great college education.
Okay. I want to emphasize again, he's a dumbass. But the thing about we didn't receive as good of an education as we could have in this country when I was coming through, and not because we didn't have Jesus shoved up our asses the way they do it.
And can I just stop here, because everyone thinks I'm just like horrible person, whatever. I think Jesus is great. I think Jesus, when I have studied Jesus, his whole flex is beautiful. I don't know why anyone wouldn't want to follow this man who's actually a human on this planet. I don't. I just am questioning why we are now making him this, right? Like, I mean, he has great teachings. Beckwith twists them. Not only does he twist them, but he
got those little phrases and misconstrues them to kind of shoehorn them into something that's bizarre. But the thing about Beckwith's ignorance is he wants to force it on everyone, and he tells people, don't read these academics, don't listen to anybody but me. And he won't allow himself to be accountable. So when I've got John Schmitz, for example, saying, Micah strikes back, no, he didn't. You're a coward, Micah. And John, you weren't being truthful on that. So
and John, you are also putting a woman at risk, quite frankly. A woman that has, like me, who has been really, really tried and to cross these lines of anyone to do it. And you cannot use words of violence to like head my show, which you say I have control over. And then also in the midst of Mark Small, who I brought on as my guest, and completely like, anyway, Mark, go on. I'm just in my feelings.
No, you were defending my honor, and I appreciate that. That's the whole thing. And that's a point too, is that we can defend each other on arguments. I don't doubt that Cassie's out there willing to confront, discuss, argue anything, as I think she can presume that's the same for me.
Yeah.
Beckwith won't do it. He's a coward. He has Flack go out there. He has people that run up front for him so he doesn't have to do it. He's a coward.
But the funny thing, Mark, let me just talk to this. He on mouthwash, it's funny you say that because that's true. And he will have a lot more people that will be like, and I'm just, campaign manager is not the right term. Like a lot of people that will kind of like whatever for him. But I forgot, I lost it. Go on. I'll bring it back. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, it's okay. I mean, we're not ready to wind up anyway. And what we're looking at right now is we've got multiple crises possibly happening in this country because fascists like Beckwith are taking control of this state and this country possibly. And so to have them do that and then act so smug, because when they say like, well, Micah said that, and that's history. No, it's not history. And he won't subject himself to questioning. That's what academic freedom is about.
Right.
And that's what they have. And when he attacked IU, because the Indiana Daily student had a front page thing about Trump. And he said, well, we can kind of make them change or something like that. No, they can't. That showed his ignorance of how IU is set up and the Indiana.
Yeah, no, speak to that though, because you said that a little bit about that, and I didn't really understand what you meant.
Okay. Indiana University is not owned.
I'm listening to you. I'm going to step out of the screen, but keep going.
Right here. The student newspaper is not owned by the university, and it's not subjected to the control of the university. They have a separate foundation. That's who has ultimate say on their editorial content, just like a free academic paper usually would have. So there's no control that Beckwith can try and exert over IU's student paper because he's lieutenant governor and somehow they're part of the government. And there's no control over funding. They're independently funded.
Yeah, that's what you were saying. Okay.
So it's not like he can step down on anything. And when you've got somebody like Beckwith wanting to exert control and say, well, we'll just stop him. Well, that implies that he's going to try to do something outside of that. And that means trying to cut down newspapers. And that's not liberty, you dumb bastards. That's coercion and tyranny. What?
Right. No, you're right. And that's exactly, thank you. I'm glad that you broke that down because I just don't understand. And Mark, I also wanted to bring this up, which was not truly off topic, but I would like you to speak to this. There has been something recently out, and it's in like the gossip around the news or whatever, or around the, but that Beckwith's already being boxed by the Indiana GOP into his little corner. Like they are already shitty with him, and he's going to be. Does that make sense? So I think we're really going to see, I think what we speak to is like, what's this fight going to be between Beckwith? How much is he going to get from national and this Christian nationalist movement? And how much is he going to really F with Braun? Because Braun and the GOP right now are boxing him all the way the fuck in. Let me just be honest.
There's a trilogy about the Nazis by Richard Evans. And he describes how like in late January 1933, the prior chancellor of Germany thought that if they put Hitler in as chancellor, they could control him and they were going to avoid civil war. Well, they were wrong about being able to control him. Okay. And yeah, they did avoid civil war. We had a world war and tens of millions of people died. So when somebody tries to marginalize somebody and says, oh, we'll control them. No, you don't. You control them by confronting them with the truth. Okay. And you don't let them spread lies. Okay. And that's what he does. So
yeah. No, I'm really glad I brought that up because I meant to say that to you when we talked privately, but I had not thought of it. But yeah, like they're trying really hard, and I just want to be like, how well has that worked for you in the whole campaign process? I mean, where are we now? How well did you trying to just even kind of shut him out work for you? Not well at all, did it, boys?
This has been fun tonight. Still Discourse Now. Cassie, it's always a pleasure having you on. Folks,
you too.
Take care of them. Prosper and Nanu and all